Excuse me. Can you hear me? Cool. All right, I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, and then we're going to do a quick exercise here. I didn't catch a lot of what happened yesterday because it was the first time I had done something like this. So, if you guys have any questions that you want to ask, none affirmative. I don't know what that means. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, we'll give it a couple minutes. Feel free to ask away, and I will answer before we jump into this. Heather M. Powell says, how difficult is it combining two different tones? It all depends on what direction you want to go with it. So for this exercise in particular, the main body of the song is going to be the FTR theme. We'll play the Bret Hart AEW theme that I made back in 2019 prior to the very first Double or Nothing. And you'll hear, I was still very early in my engineering processes. So what you hear is going to be super compressed and kind of flat. And I've upgraded and learned a lot since then. So, but just in the spirit of what we're doing here, the Darkside of TR will be the meat and the bones of it. And basically what I'm going to do is recreate Bret Hart's theme. So I'm not going to take the theme that I recorded back then and drop it in here. We're just going to record a whole new section of it. So we'll drop the drum tracks in there. We'll drop the guitars and the bass tracks in there, and then we'll kind of go that way. Curtis says, which theme you've created surprised you with the fan reaction the first time it hit? That's a good question, and it was recent, and I cannot remember exactly. What did we have that just came up recently? I'm going to pull up the Bandcamp. I have really shoddy short-term memory recollection, so I'm going to pull up our releases and take a look and see, just off the top of my head. I would have to say Samoa Joe. But then again, I mean, really, when you think about All About the Boom and how huge it's become, I had no idea that it was going to take off like it did. It kind of took on a life of its own. So that was super cool. Let's see. When making the song, do you have inspirations from movie scores or themes? Luchasaurus theme reminds me of Danny Elfman's score. Yes. A lot of times when I speak with talent, they are on the same page as me. What I'm trying to do is we have so much technology and so many different hybrids of music stylistically in the world today. I like to try to add as many different elements as possible to kind of take what would normally be like maybe just a rock track with your core instruments, your drums, your bass, and your guitars, add some synthesizers, add some orchestral elements, add some cinematic hybrid elements, because I feel like it elevates it to a different level. And with our theatrics in this business, I think it's important to really try to add as many elements as possible, not just throwing layers on there for the sake of throwing layers on there, but it's like when you're painting, and if you have a huge color palette to work with, why not experiment? Let's see. Local says, all I see is colors. Yep, these are the colors, and these are the actual wave files for the FTR theme. I actually bounced all of this down, so the only thing that you would see outside of that, this is the actual the drum kit that I use. So this is Battery. Battery is my drum pad, basically, that I use instead of the Native Instruments machine. I have my drum machine set up over here. I used that for years and years and years, and then I kind of fell into this flow where I was just working specifically in this realm and in this range, and I can drop things here, and then I can program and paint. So I can actually solo this out, and you can hear this by itself. I don't even know what it's going to sound like at the moment because I haven't played anything on here. But so that's the original kicks. I layered my kicks up, 4 different kicks to get the sound. Hi-hat, you got your snares. So in essence, that FTR theme was actually fairly basic when you think about what time we were trying to replicate back in the early 80s when sequencers were pretty basic and just kind of fleshing it out on that. Let's see. Every single AEW theme created. Voices 2120, thank you for that. FTR theme needs a few listens before it's earwormed in your brain. Yeah, I guess you can say that was when we first created this. It was such a complete shift from what they previously had, and all credit to Tony Khan. This was all his idea, and he knew where this theme could land, and I was absolutely excited to do it. And there's always that little bit of jitteriness. Knee-jerk reactions when you hear a song for the first time can go either way. Some songs are great out of the gate. Some songs take a little bit of time to grow on you. It's just repetition. That's what it comes down to. So a lot of people always talk about when something first hits, you know who it is. But the element of repetition is something that's not often talked about within what we do. So typically people say, and the stat is, you have to hear it 7 times before it's stuck there. So if you get it in under 7 times, that's extremely rare. And when it happens, it happens. It's great. But for the most part, you'll get 7 plays, whether it's the opening of a theme or the post-match theme. And now, because we're not just restricted to TV, we can post a video wall on YouTube. We can drop it on Bandcamp the next day, upload it to DSPs, and then it's there a week later. So the ability to drive that theme and get it kind of implanted in the brain is a lot easier. So, and it always helps to make a song that's catchy because it drives people to want to listen to it. So why you left Dan Wilson? So the question is, why did you let Danielson get away from you? You should have done a Final Countdown cover for him. So there was a lot of different things that went into that. We did have different variations of tracks. There is a Flight of the Valkyrie or Ride of the Valkyrie orchestral arrangement that was done prior. So we just had a bunch of different options, and at the end of the day, the decision comes down to Tony and Brian and what they see. So they went with the track that he had, that Elliot, his last name is escaping me for some reason, created for him, and they went with that. So the cool thing is that everything is canon, right? So the track that I created will be part of the AEW Symphony series coming soon. I can't imagine FTR with a different theme at all. Yeah, and it's funny how that kind of happens. You know what I mean? It's when it's dropped in at the right place at the right time, and you kind of build to these moments where the song hits and then the pop, because you build the fans, you take them on that journey and you bring them to that point. So, all right, it's 10:22. I have a lot to do today, so I want to do this really quick. I just figured it'd be cool to kind of drop in as an exercise. somebody had said that they why not remix FTR with Bret Hart. We can do that. So I'm going to do that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the actual, this is the actual section, and this is a lot cleaner than what we had yesterday, just because I had bounced these down to stems probably 5-6 months ago, and just kind of fooling around with stuff. I usually don't do stems. I usually just kind of leave the session as is, so I can go back and move things around if I want to. But for the sake of this, we have stems here. So the track in itself is actually very simple. You have a kick, snare, hi-hat. You have a couple of basses. You have one bass that I like to do. I like to double up the bass frequencies just to kind of hold the low end a little bit better. Find different types of styles of basses. So one can kind of hit the low mids, and then the other one can kind of hit the subs. We've got some keys. We've got some pads, a riser, a drone, and some booms. So we'll kind of go through these, and I'll start with the kick. Now, if you remember, we had 3 that layered it in, right? So we'll start off with the kick again. We got the snare. Got the hi-hat. So you can automatically hear the difference in the basses. One's kind of it's just kind of there for the hit. The other one kind of it's got that hum that kind of carries through the lower frequency. So we'll kind of go back, add the keys in. And I do the same with keys. I like to kind of I like to layer up the keys, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna do this a lot because I like to layer up keys. So you've got one. What I'll do is all the sounds complement each other, and I spread them out to kind of give more of a sound stage. Here's your pad. And of course your booms. So that in essence is the FTR theme. And yes, Carlos, I'm looking at it, is the trick to match the BPM. So you want to match the BPM or get somewhere in the vicinity of it, but it also comes down to selection of sounds. And sometimes that's the longest process, is picking the right sounds. Like if I use, let's say I have, just for the sake of argument, I have pigments, right? I have pigments, I have serum, I have omnisphere, I have Massive X. Massive X actually has a lot of good vintage sounds, stuff that you would hear like Stranger Things and stuff like that. So I can actually go in and you can see like my bass, brass and winds, drums, keys. Your pads, you've got a lot to choose from. Your sequence, you've got a lot of sound effects. Your synth leads. So it could take a good while to figure out exactly what type of sound you're looking for. So the idea is to just capture that essence from back in the day. So we're going to go from that to listening to the Bret Hart theme. Now I made this theme. I was not prepared. I just got a text message out of the blue right before Double or Nothing 2019 that said, "Hey, you're doing that Bret theme, right?" And I was like, "Bret who?" And they said Bret Hart, and my heart kind of stopped. It hit the floor, and because at that moment, I'm still learning the ropes. I came from outside the business, so stepping into in a situation where you're making themes for your heroes and the influences that you grew up watching and the wrestlers that you kind of idolize and stuff like that, It was very, very cool. It was it was an amazing time back then. So, but yeah, we'll look at this. Gotcha. So that's the Bret Hart theme in itself. I didn't do the dive bomb at the top because that had already been done. You know, signature stings at the top of a song is a whole other topic of discussion unto itself, and we'll jump into that one day. So the first thing that I notice when I hear this and I say, hey, I'm going to drop the Bret Hart theme into the FTR theme, number one, the tempos are kind of close. I'm working with 125 BPM. So when you think of how somebody walks and you think of your internal clock in terms of seconds, right? 60 seconds is 60 BPMs, 120 BPMs. That's usually the normal rate for moving. Now 125 is almost like you're kind of nudging somebody to walk a little bit faster. You're kind of nudging people to get a little bit more up tempo. You kind of get the feeling of a groove that's a little bit more energetic than just a hair over what a normal internal clock would be. So I noticed the BPMs are kind of there, but the keys are different. So I recorded FTR in F sharp, and I recorded the Bret Hart theme in the key of E. So open E string on the guitar. So I'll have to change that. So not a big deal. So what I'm going to do in this exercise is we're going to choose a spot right in the middle of the FTR theme, and we're just going to recreate Bret Hart's theme in F sharp right there. Right? So let's say, for instance, and Carlos, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Every trick in the book is my absolute favorite. Fits Leva perfectly. Leva is awesome. She is one of the nicest people that I've met, and she was one of my very first friends in AEW. She's one of the first people I met when I went down. We actually went to when we were in DC for the first Dynamite show. We shared an Uber. We almost died in that Uber. It's pretty funny. But yeah, she's super good people. So, but yeah, let's jump in here. I'm going to find the midway point. And what I'm going to do is, I can see it right here. Right when the track ends on its theme. So I'm going to add it right here. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'll highlight everything, and I'm going to clip it, right? And let's see. The next section would be right here when the music kicks back in again. Then the next section I'll clip is where everything kicks in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of add layers in. So let's highlight all of this. I'm just going to move it out of the way. Sorry, my throat's a little jacked up this morning. I'm glad I'm not doing any vocal tracking. I'm going to add these kicks in here. And we're just going to kind of start with that. Right, so we've got this. And let's see. I'm going to drop in a drum kit. I'm going to put it right here. Remember, we talked about this yesterday. I'm a huge fan of mixed wave. I'm going to go with Tony Royster's kit from Mixed Wave. And this is one of those instances where I said, you know, if you're kind of pressed for time, you don't have to necessarily bounce every single drum to its separate track. But I mean, take a look at his kit here. He's got a lot going on here, right? There's a lot to choose from. Say, for the sake of the exercise, I'm going to keep it simple. We're going to paint in. So let's say that we want to drop a live drum track right as soon as these kicks come in. So you're going to see me paint this in here. All right. So we're going to start right there. BPM is 125, quantization set at 116. I'm going to come in. I'm going to close this out so I can kind of focus in on this here. Here's your kick, right? Full volume velocity. Let's double check. So we're at the kicks on the 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop it right there. You'll see what I'm doing. So we add the kicks, and we want to add our cymbals in. Remember what I told you? When a drummer starts the measure off, he always hits with 2 cymbals. So you're going to hear a pss, dun, dun. And for the sake of it, we're going to throw some hi-hats in here. That's your hi-hat with your foot. And this is the hi-hat hitting with the stick. And you can actually I don't remember exactly where I had it placed, but there's so many different cymbals to choose from. We'll just go with this, right? So we're going to kind of lead into... So what I'll do is I don't want the kicks there. I don't want them here. We'll just kind of keep it brief. And then right about here, 1, 2, 3, pop. There's going to be a snare flam there that's going to start into the song. So this drum track is going to be fairly simple. Remember, we're talking about like the 80s, right? So on the 4, we're going to do a flam. So you can actually take this. You don't have to stay in the grid. I talked about this yesterday. You can actually zoom in, take the grid back, so you can hear. So you hear that, right? I'm going to pull this back so I don't hear that kick drum there, because I just want the snare to kind of, there's going to be a guitar slide there, and then we're going to jump right into the song. And it's just a straight 4/4 rock beat. So, dun, 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 dun. Add another one here. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Do this here, add 2 more snares at the end of the measure. Dun, 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 dun. So we're going to throw our cymbals in there, and I'm working a little bit fast. This is just kind of how I do things. I don't want that yet. Let me change it up a little bit. There, we'll do that. So we'll alternate. So the open cymbals on the main riff is dun, 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 dun. So every other one they're hitting 2, and then on the snare hits they're hitting 1. Dun, 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 dun. So we can just double that out. And then you take them away for the double hit. Double it up again. and then I'm going to add a fill there. So I'm going to take all this out. Start with the snare. And the fill is going to be da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So it's 2 snare, 2 tom, 2 snare, 2 tom. That's it right there. So that's the whole first section. So then what I'm going to do is I'll highlight this, start in the next section. So this is going to be where the little guitar solo harmonization is. So we want to simplify the drum kit slightly, so we take out a few less kick drums to focus on the actual guitar parts, and we'll throw the ride cymbal in there. So if you remember, let's see. So we double that up. We don't need cymbals here. We just need the ride there again. And then we have the cymbals again. Now, if you remember, when I created it, I wanted to do a little bit something different. So I doubled up on the kicks here on that one section, just to kind of give it some oomph. And then I threw the rides in there to match it also. So we're cooking with gas there. Double up the ride. And I can just kind of... If you're copy and pasting, make sure that if you're copy and pasting over something, you're going to want to, like if I want to take this and overlay it again, you want to delete whatever you have there before you copy and paste, because you're going to end up with a double. So instead of 127 volume, it'll be like 254, and it'll just kind of stick out, and you won't really know why. You'll have to go back and look and find it. So. Let me go back. Hang on a second. I didn't want to do that. Got a little bit ahead of myself. So this is the chorus again. Dun, dun. Oh no, that's the verse. So we're going to copy this up. And again, we had the discussion yesterday, trying not to do too much with the drums, because they have a tendency to overpower what the story that you're trying to tell, right? So, and a lot of this is just listening over and over again. So I want to change this up to like a floor tom build. So I'm going to take all this out. Some people add their kicks in with their floor tom fills. You can, you don't have to. alternate. Dun, 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 dun. And we'll kind of humanize this section a little bit too. We talked about that yesterday also. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Alright, and we want 2 flams there. Right? Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Match the cymbal with the snare. Change it up. Alright. So then we're going to add the... So I was talking about this yesterday, right? So when people use the floor toms, they don't always hit like on one hit. So you've got 2 toms and kicks right here. You can actually kind of humanize that a little bit. It's almost like a flam on the tom. So I just kind of drag. Shoot. Let's see. Let's pull it back. Too far. Just enough to kind of give a hint of we can add it in here too. So that's our drums, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some tracks, audio tracks. I'm going to do 4. This is my guitars. And I'm going to record 4 times just for the sake of the exercise. I'm going to pull up my guitar. I don't know if you guys will be able to see, but I'll just kind of, maybe I can move. What if I did this? That's not going to work. So we'll... So let's go back and listen real quick to FTR. Dropping some guitar tracks there. So, and I'll do this one more time. We'll play this back. So that's an E. So we're gonna do. All right. So I mean that's. and just to reiterate, I haven't worked this out previously. This is just, I'm doing all of this on the fly. So let's say we want to go in and we want to add, and immediately what I always do is try to pan hard right, hard left. We talked about that yesterday also. All right, let me mute this so that doesn't kind of jump in there. So let's say I'm going to put my... So we're going to want to hit the guitar right here, okay? So I'll give myself an 8-count lead in. Right? I actually moved my panel back a little bit. Bring this in so I can hit record. On the track to record, that might help. You'll see me do this a few times. This is how I rehearse. I could actually clip that and then just jump back in. If I was pressed for time, I would, but I want to play it all the way through because I'm hard-headed. So some people like to take their guitar tracks and then just duplicate them. I always advise against that, just because you start to hear a weird type phase thing in each end. So the best thing to do is just re-record the track twice, or even 4 times. For the sake of this and for time, I'm going to record this part twice, and then I'm going to do like the harmonies on the guitar, and then I'll drop a bass line in there also. So you probably won't hear a lot of talking from me here. The next couple, I'm just going to knock these out really quick, right? I don't even remember the lead line. I'm gonna... So let's see. We'll move up a little bit. Let's do that. got that one. Then the harmony. That. So I can always normalize these also, just kind of bump them up a little bit. So we're going to add a third harmony. This is like some Bob Ross type stuff, so we're going to paint another happy little tree. We'll add that one in there on the high. I don't want to do it on there. Let's do it on this line here. It would help if I had my volume turned up. Got that. I'm going to switch this out and grab my bass. Sorry for all the noise. I'm just kind of working a little fast here. Alright, so let's see. And the cool thing about I have a head rush. I can actually just switch. I know I've got a little bit of latency going on, but for the sake of it, we'll just kind of play along. Now that I got that in order, and I like to change my bass color to purple. I don't know why, I just associate purple with the bass. And of course the levels are going to be a little bit different until we balance them out. Let's try it again. So that is all the tracking you'll need here. The rest will kind of go into balancing out. I'm going to bounce this drum track down as is. And I'm just going to add it. That way I have waves to work with. It clipped a little bit, but that's okay for the sake of this exercise. So let me see where everything was mixed out at. Okay. So this was all just done. I went straight, for this one in particular, I didn't bus anything. I remember this specifically because I wanted to kind of have a vintage, like everything all just kind of like in a mixing pot. So everything went to the main feed. So I'm going to do that here with these. Let's see, drums, guitar 1, guitar 2, guitar 3, guitar 4, guitar 5, oops, 4, 5, guitar 6, and then bass. Right, so everything's just going to go to mains. I don't need this, so I can do away with that. And what I try to do is minimize what I'm seeing on the screen, just because things can get really cluttered when you're doing like orchestral tracks and you've got 50 different instances open and it's all the MIDI files, and then you're bouncing down to waves. It can get to be a little bit much, right? So what I'll do is I'll just go over there and I'll kind of eliminate that so I don't have to look at it. All right. So here's where it's going to get cool. So we're going to balance this really quick, and then we're going to move FTR's theme into it. Okay. So let's see. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull these back. We're going to pan out these leads a little bit, just to get a little bit more space. I'm not going to EQ any of this stuff, just for the sake of the exercise. It's going to be what it's going to be. I'll pull the drums back just a bit. Might do that. So watch this. So we're going to bring FTR back into it. Well, I'll just bring the whole thing back in, and we'll see about kind of fooling around with it a little bit. All right, so we'll back it up just a tad. And I'm doing this all on the fly. I've not done a run through of this, so we're just kind of figuring it out as we go along. Pull all this back just a tad. Actually add this back in there if I want. Let's see. Alright, here you go. You ready? Just kind of something to fool with. So what do you guys think? Play it from the beginning? And obviously, there can always be a ton of more mixing. There's a ton more engineering that'll go into it. If I wanted to do a remix and release this, but just a basic exercise. I took this away. Sorry. Alright, so that is how you remix Bret Hart's AEW theme with FTR's Darkside of TR. Again, obviously there's a lot more that we could go into to really kind of flesh it out, balance it, EQ it, pump it up, and even do some cool mixes with it where we kind of drop each in, drop FTR into the Bret Hart theme into the FTR theme. So that's that. But that's going to be my time. I have to jump into another session that I can't tell you about. And from now on, when I do these streams, you won't see my files because y'all nosy in the mug. But it's all good. It's all good and fun. And I'm always going to try to be available. Please support the stream through Streamlabs or YouTube. We're going to be launching the BKRR show very soon on Twitch. And we're going to take a nostalgic trip every single week. We'll review old movies, we'll play some old games and stuff like that, and just have a good time. So I've been asked to do this for a very long time, and I haven't done it, so it's great to be able to finally do this. If you need me, I'm on Twitter. I'll try to reply as I can. I may be offline for several hours today because I'm working on some cool stuff. So, but that's it.